Hi guys, it's Grace with Grace Gets Gastric. Today is Tuesday, August 27th, 2019, and I'm here today for my 1 year, 34 week or 86 week post-op VSG update. In my car again, sorry about the poor lighting, but it is what it is. Anyways, to start off with stats, again, my name is Grace. I'm 5'8", 28 years old, and on January 2nd, 2018, I had the Vertical Sleeve Gastrectomy or VSG weight loss surgery. My highest weight ever recorded was 354 pounds in May of 2017, and I was required by my insurance to do a 6-month medically supervised weight loss diet, and over the course of that 6 months, I lost 35 pounds, so my starting weight day of surgery was 319 pounds. Last week, I came at you with a weight of 191.8, and this morning I weighed in at 191.4. So that is a weekly loss of 0.4 pounds, a loss since surgery of 127.6 pounds, and a loss since my highest weight of 162.6 pounds. So a loss is a loss is a loss. I'm happy with it. I think I'm in a pretty happy spot for my body. I would like to get lower, but I'm not like super concerned about it. As I've mentioned before, my primary focus right now is on building muscle, so I feel like that will be happening with the amount I'm working out. So if I stay the same weight, I still feel confident that I will be losing fat and gaining muscle. So there's that. So on that, an update on that. So I talked to you guys last week about how I'm doing sort of like a little 5-weekish challenge leading up to my Peruvian vacation, and so my plan was to do 3 full body strength training routines, which I did last week, 1 yoga class, which I did on Sunday, and then I also wanted to have an average for the week of 10,000 steps per day, and my average last week was 12,102. So hitting all of my goals so far. My nutrition was pretty on point. There were definitely, the weekend in particular, I went off plan, but in a way that I felt okay with. So I made some strategic decisions that didn't really make me go crazy overboard on calories, which is what I really care about. And while my macros were not much higher in carbs and sugar, lower in protein than I wanted, I didn't feel like it threw me off track. You know, it wasn't like a snowball effect. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I did go and see a physical therapist on Friday, and my back was feeling almost, it was like at 90%, I would say. And this morning when I worked out and I did my squatting, it's feeling worse today than it has in a few weeks. I'm really frustrated. My physical therapist, he was like, okay, he had me do squats, he had me do deadlifts, which are kind of like some of the ones that I have that can, irritate my lower back. And he said my form was fine, which I knew it was, but he said it was fine. He said he felt, given that how much it had progressed, that he felt okay if I wanted to start doing squats and deadlifts again at maybe like 60% my previous capacity. So today I was doing squats, and I was doing my warm-up squat weight. So normally when I do squats, or now that I'm doing this strength training routine, for some of the sets, I do a kind of a 1 or 2 or 3 even sometimes warm-up sets with a significantly lower weight, just to make sure my form is good, kind of warm up the muscles, and then I bump it up to my actual weight. So for my squats, I was doing my warm-up weight, and the first set, I could feel it. And I did squats last week and they were fine, but something about today just didn't feel good. So I can tell it's hurting worse than it has been in a few weeks. We'll see how tomorrow, what happens tomorrow. I might just need to either axe squats from my routine for a while, or just do bar weight, which I don't like. But I also don't want to hurt my back, and especially like I've got Peru coming up, so it's frustrating, but like I'm just sort of dealing with it. And that kind of segues into my next point, where I have some friends that I've just noticed recently that are fairly negative and like just have a victim mentality, and not necessarily all the time, I'm thinking of two friends in particular. One is like going through a really hard time and has like kind of let her negativity snowball to where like everything that's happening has to have a negative slant, even if it's not. It's almost like she's looking for the negativity, you know, where I'm like, you know, actually I think this was not a bad thing. You're just looking at it, you're trying to find like a negative light. And another friend who's just got this like victim mentality where like everything is sort of against her and like it's never her fault. And it's just, I'm finding it so frustrating to interact with these kinds of people, even though they're my friends and I love them, because I'm just not there anymore. You know, and I'm saying it segue because like I've got this back issue, right? And it's fucking massive pain in the back. It's a huge pain. It is frustrating when I am trying to most work on gaining my strength gains, and like lower back issues kind of affect every single movement. So it's not like, you know, it's like not like a wrist, you know, it's annoying. It's really annoying. But like, I'm not letting it derail everything. You know, I'm not letting it be an excuse. I'm not like turning it into this thing where everything is negative and everything's against me. And like, I am not someone who actually sees the value in life. I mean, I think being positive is good. I also don't think that like never being negative is necessarily healthy. You know, like I'm not someone who's like, you need to be positive and just like gloss over bad experiences all the time. You know, you feel your feelings, but I'm not interested in being around people who are like trying to just drag me down or just drag themselves down even, you know, like just, I don't know. It's frustrating. And I mean, it's hard because I do feel like the changes that I've made in my life in the past year and a half, past 2 years really, since I started this pre-op process, like I'm just all about taking action and being proactive and living intentionally and kind of living and making the life that I want for myself. And that does not necessarily mean that everything goes perfectly. It doesn't mean that like all areas of my life are perfect. You know, I do think that there's only so much you can focus and prioritize on at once. So for me, for the past 2 years, it has really been my health and fitness. And that is what most of my energy has gone towards. And not to say that I have not done other things, but like, for example, my career has been really put on hold for the past 2 years. And really my plan is to focus on that after plastic. But I feel like until I get plastics, like that's still kind of my forward push. And so, not that like I'm in a bad spot career-wise, but I'm not where I want to be right now. But I am making sacrifices there so that I can progress in other areas of my life. And like I have made that intentional thought and that choice. And so even though work gets frustrating sometimes and like I feel stagnant there sometimes, I know why I've made the choices I've made. I still feel like those are the right choices for me. And so I'm not letting it just get me down, I guess. I don't know. I've just been struggling with people who are relentlessly negative and or just have this like victim mentality where they feel like they can't change your life. You know, like if you're not happy with your life, like you have the power to make changes. And if you're not making those changes, that means you're not unhappy enough or you don't want to change badly enough, you know? And it's all, like I mentioned in my last video, right? It's all about a trade-off. It's all about what are you willing to do to get where you want to go? And sometimes the answer is, I don't want to move badly enough to make a change. And that's fine, but then don't like relentlessly complain to me about it, you know? Like if you, just like with weight loss, you know, if you're not happy with the weight that you're at, but like are unwilling to make any changes to your diet, that's totally cool. You can do whatever you want, but I just don't want to hear you complain about not being happy with your weight, you know? Anyways, moving along. Another thing I've been thinking about a lot is the mental mindfuck of losing a lot of weight. I mentioned last week I've been watching a lot of Tanya, Voodoo Queen's old videos, and that transitioned into me listening to a lot of the old 50 Shades of Maintenance shows on YouTube, which she did with VSG Kirk and Fat King's Phil. And like they did interviews with other people as well. And just like as I am sort of transitioning into this maintenance thing, I thought giving those a listen would be interesting, and it is very interesting. But one thing that has come up from watching those shows, from watching Tanya's videos, and watching videos from a bunch of people, like, you know, I've watched so many people over the years in preparation and since the surgery, but there's always some kind of like mental mindfuck moment. And I think one thing I've always tried to be really cognizant about is sort of the different phases of weight loss surgery, mental stuff, and trying not to, as much as I can, trying not to fall into some of those pitfalls. You know, like I've tried not to get too much in sort of like the know-it-all phase, try not to get too cocky, too overconfident. And it is interesting to know, to feel like I can do this forever, while knowing that you know, I don't really know what it's gonna feel like in a year from now, you know? But I feel like while I have definitely had mental struggles, I don't think that I've had kind of like a big mental mindfuck moment. I don't think that I have yet. And so it makes me nervous, because I don't think that I'm gonna like be the special snowflake that escapes that. I think, and I'm nervous because I think it's gonna be post-plastics for me. So I'm just like waiting for that shoe to drop. But I just think, you know, it's this weird thing of like not wanting fear of the future, which is a big issue for me, hold me back, but also like not wanting to be blindsided, you know? But I think plastics is going to be something that's going to be really hard for me to deal with afterwards, which is not a reason not to do it. But I know just trying to imagine what I look like without this stomach, I physically, like, I can't do it. When I imagine it, I look like a bobblehead doll. Like, I imagine myself with like a flat stomach, and I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna look ridiculous. Like, I'm gonna look like I have a giant head and like a stick body. And it's not like I am stick thin, but like, it's so hard to me imagine without this giant stomach. And especially because I feel like right now my extremities, my limbs are fairly slender. Like, I definitely I have loose skin everywhere, right? Like, even like all of this is just like loose skin. Like, that skin doesn't do that. I definitely still have some fat up in my arms, but not a lot. Like, a lot, there's like, this is not all skin, right? Like, it's still, but like, this is skin, this has got a little bit of fat, but not a ton. Same thing with my thighs. You know, like, my calves are pretty much just skin and muscle. My thighs definitely still have some fat in there, but really the majority of my weight is in my lower stomach, a little bit in my upper, and then like there's just like skin all over your body that like adds up, but really the majority of my weight is in my lower stomach. And yeah, I don't know, it's weird. It's this like weird mental thing. And again, I just talked about how I'm not having mental mindfuck, and it's not like that intense, but it's definitely weird to be like lying in bed and just feeling my bones, feeling my muscle on my legs and my arms and my hands, and feeling fairly slimmed down everywhere but like my trunk. And I think, you know, plastics is going to take care of a lot of that. And I don't know, it's weird. I don't even know what the point of that was, other than sometimes I feel like it's like the eye of the storm, you know? Like, I dealt with all the storminess of getting the surgery, losing the weight, all of that, and I feel like I'm in this place where it's like kind of calm, but there's still that second part of the storm to happen. So, you know, I'll be taking you guys along whenever that happens. Anyways, I think that's kind of everything I want to talk about this week. Longer than I thought it would be, but, you know, c'est la vie. Nothing else, to report. So I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope you are enjoying the last little bit of August, and I'll talk to you guys again in September.